Hey everyone, thanks for watching. I got a really exciting show for you today. I have someone who is doing commercial real estate investing across the country. And we're going to ask him what that means because, obviously it can mean lots of different things to lots of different folks. So we're going to dive into that, talk about areas of focus, get his origin story, all the normal stuff we do on this show. But let's get started by welcoming Matt Seamus to the show. How you doing this morning, Matt?
Great. Thank you so much for having me, Michael.
Oh yeah, man, we're neighbors, man. This is interviewing another Silicon Valley resident, so this is a lot of fun for me. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, that's right. We could have done this in person. Maybe next time we'll do it over coffee.
There you go. There you go. Just put up the little iPod or the Apple camera and just interview each other. That'd be really cool. Although I bet we get a lot of weird looks. So why don't you just jump in and really tell the audience what you mean by commercial, because I hear commercial as a multifamily guy and my brain stops there. But I know your story a little bit and it's much bigger than that. So let's just define what that is for everyone.
Well, so I actually started investing in single family homes, but really our emphasis right now is on commercial, which to me includes multifamily, but it also includes office buildings, retail, which is a little bit of a dirty word right now, but probably has we can potentially talk about why it may not be a bad opportunity.
Yeah.
Industrial, medical office, even those are the specific areas of emphasis for us right now.
Yeah. So when you say commercial, it's really
non-residential, not single-family home residential, not mobile home parks, not self-storage. That has not been an area of emphasis for us, but broadly, the big buildings that are occupied by large tenants.
Yeah, I like that. And what others may not peel from that, but I see your vision is you are not only balancing a portfolio of locations because you look across the country, but asset types. And well, why don't we talk about that first? Because I see lots of upside in that. But let's talk about why you think that vision is right and sort of how you got there. Because as you know, lots of people go, "Hey, I'm going to be an apartment person in Texas, or I'm going to be a medical office in Connecticut."
Right.
How did you get to this? Because I think it's a great idea, but how did you get there?
Well, and I guess I would also caveat by first saying that I think there's tremendous value in specializing and finding a niche and then exploiting it. Personally, for me, I like some variety, and I also think that diversification is just important and is something that we're looking to achieve. So we knew that what we couldn't do if we wanted to diversify is to specialize in a particular asset class or a particular location, like you mentioned. So really our approach has been to, we are syndicating deals, which really just means we're pooling money and resources from several people so that we can buy bigger and higher quality assets. And all that, and really what it means is we are looking to diversify, like you said, across asset classes and across regions. Sorry to hear this. We have the gardener right. Perfect timing.
Yeah, that's okay. So one of the reasons I like this strategy, and I frankly think more people should do it and be attracted to this, is I've been investing for a long time. And even in just the landlord game, there was a time when housing was overpriced. And now I believe there's a time that multifamily is overpriced. When you have the skill set and the experience to look at various asset classes, not only asset classes, but asset classes / locations, you can always find an underappreciated or an undervalued asset, i.e., to go back to one of your earlier points, maybe that's retail, right? Often the best deals are made when somebody has a don't wanter, right? Today, people don't want big square boxes that used to be JCPenney's and Sears. The person who solves that riddle is going to make a lot of freaking money. Yeah. So I congratulate you on that idea. And we can talk about, the various different types that you're investing in if you'd like.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. And I will say, so we do, multifamily is still an area of emphasis for us. The problem, as you kind of stated, is we are finding it harder and harder to identify multifamily opportunities that we are really confident in.
Yep.
And one thing that we are never going to do is buy something speculatively where all 10 different things have to go right in order for us to win.
Yeah.
We are very much value investors, which means we're pretty conservative in what we buy.
Yeah.
But when we do buy something, we're really, really excited about it and confident in our ability to execute on the business plan we have. So that just meant what we started looking at was multifamily is getting very expensive. Cap rates are very, very low. And we don't want to be blinded by multifamily when we're passing up a very interesting medical office deal at an 8.5 cap.
Yeah.
And so that's when we started thinking, why don't we expand our kind of our horizons a little bit past multifamily and try and understand these other asset classes a little bit better, try and develop a little bit of an investment thesis on each of these asset classes, and then identify, so that way we're opportunistically looking in a particular market, and we're not passing up interesting opportunities because we don't understand them.
Yeah. No, again, let's just put it, this is my example, my words, not yours. So nobody shoot at Matt. This is Mike Zuber talking. I think apartment buildings, multifamilies, certainly the bigger stuff, right? 40, 50, 60 units and above are suffering from the Grant Cardone effect. He has made investing in those and syndicating those sexy. And you have thousands of lemmings running that direction, trying to emulate and copy what he's doing, which is driving cap rates down, which is making assets priced for perfection. And I own these assets today. And I am far closer to selling them than buying them. Yeah. But that means is all the lemmings are chasing those. There are plenty of opportunities that people are ignoring. And here's the deal. This exact thing happened in 2008, except the asset class of the day was HGTVs flipped those houses. And everybody and their brother was flipping houses or buying contracts on newly built land and flipping them and making a killing until they weren't.
Yeah.
And the lemmings got hurt. Yeah. And it is going to happen in multifamily. I have bought an 18-unit building, 0 down during the crash from somebody who paid double what I paid and lost it. I bought 2 10-unit buildings side by side, same thing. It's going to happen again. People, pay attention. When everybody goes one direction, go the other. Yeah. So right. I love that idea. So tell me about, I've never invested in a medical office building. What makes a building, I don't know, is it configured or right for medical office? I mean, they got to have x-rays and it's got to be just weirdly configured, or what makes a building right for medical?
Well, so before I answer that, which is a good question, let me just mention why I like medical office, why it's an even interesting opportunity to look. I think so. Our hypothesis is that we think a recession is coming at some point. We don't know how big or how long it's going to be, but we want to be prepared for it. Yep. So all investments that we're looking at right now are through the lens of, we have to be confident we can hold this through a recession, and we have to be confident that it's going to do reasonably well through a recession. Mm-hmm. So pricing is a factor, and then asset class is a factor, and of course location is a big factor. So medical office is dentist offices, optometrists, urgent care facilities, places where a hospital has an outpost and they do physical therapy. Those are medical office properties. And location is important, as you can imagine. A dentist in a very high quality location is generally going to have higher traffic. And if you have, like, for instance, if you have a dentist or an optometrist near a Whole Foods or near retail that people are shopping at regularly, that's a very convenient location for people. And so location is really important. The actual build out of the property really depends on the tenant. It is some of the most expensive. It is some of the most expensive kind of build outs, because imagine you have a dentist or an orthodontist. There's a lot more plumbing infrastructure. There's very specialized equipment that they have in place. But that's actually a good thing for a landlord, because you may pay some money up front in TIs or tenant improvements, but that dentist is also very, very likely to stay in that location for a very long time, because ultimately they are reimbursing you as the landlord for the improvements that you made to their space through rent.
Yeah.
And if you understand, how NOI works and how NOI affects the value of a property, it always makes sense to spend money up front as a landlord to increase your NOI in future years. So it's actually a really interesting trade-off. And typically, so that's the kind of my take on the answer to your question of what do these buildings consist of. The build outs are generally a little bit more expensive.
Yep.
The lease terms are generally longer. And the specific the locations generally are ideal if they are near retail or in an otherwise convenient location.
Very cool. I love that explanation. So why don't we talk about, obviously you're a Silicon Valley guy like me, which means we live in just a ridiculously expensive part of the country. Why don't we talk about where you invest today, kind of the three markets I think you indicated, but then also caveat that with areas of focus, because I think maybe there's, the areas of focus may be even larger. So where are you looking, and where's your company looking?
Yeah. So back in, we're building a portfolio, and we want to be diversified across asset classes and across regions. So that means that we're not focused on a specific area. We currently have investments in Huntsville, Alabama. We have a multifamily property in Atlanta, and we have an office to multifamily conversion project in Santa Barbara. Huh. So we are very, very geographically diversified. We generally like locations in the Southeast United States for kind of steady, more consistent cash flow.
Yep. And
we generally like opportunities on the West Coast markets for what I would call the commercial version of a flip, which is basically what we're doing in Santa Barbara. It's a 2-year project, and the reason that we like the California or West Coast markets for those kinds of opportunities is you have much, much lower cap rates. And so if you can force some value into a project, to me, the best thing to do in California is then capture that value by selling and moving that equity into an asset that's going to produce a higher yield and is generally going to be more stable in a market somewhere in the Southeast.
Got it. Well, that's again, you're not only geographically asset class, but you also have different plans, cash flow versus appreciation. It's a pretty cool business. So one of the things we haven't touched on yet is, how big is the company? Are you a one-man show? You're doing this all via 1099s and agents, or how big is the company and what's the name of the company? I think I've even failed to ask you that.
Oh yeah. So Driven Capital Partners is the name of the company, drivencap.com. It's just me and my partner, Dan. Dan is a longtime buddy of mine. He's in Long Beach. He's a former professional soccer player. And we had talked for years and years about how do we go partner together on doing something in real estate. And it took a handful of years before we finally both reached kind of the same moment in our day jobs where it made sense to go out on our own. So it's just the two of us. We do partner. Our business model, as you can imagine, necessitates partnership.
Yes.
And that's one of the things I do love about this business is when you find the right partner that's aligned with you in terms of incentives and character, most importantly, and just vision, it's kind of a beautiful thing. I mean, we could not be invested all over the country without strategic partnerships with people on the ground in those locations. And so that's a critical part of what we do, and I think will continue to be. It's just the two of us. One thing that I'll mention also, which is kind of been a shift for me personally, I've founded a couple startups. Like you mentioned, I used to work at Facebook. I founded a couple startups before that. Uh, Being in Silicon Valley and just in this day and age, I think there's a general tendency for us to think that growth or scale equals success or equals is what we need to go do.
Yeah.
And we've taken actually a very different approach here. In real estate, and especially in commercial real estate, I would argue that scale is not necessary. Buying the right assets at the right prices and executing a business plan that doesn't require, like I mentioned before, every single little thing to go your way, is really the right approach. And so we're not trying to grow this business. Growth is not a goal for us. Our goal is to continue to buy very high quality assets. If that means we go a stretch of 6 months without buying anything, then that's okay with us.
Right.
Most important thing is that we're preserving principal, and we're getting into opportunities that we are extremely excited about and we feel very confident in.
Yeah, there's so much value in what you just dropped there. First off, you're right? We have in the Silicon Valley, it's kind of wired in our DNA, growth beyond all else, right? Even beyond profitability, right? I mean, geez, think about all the Silicon Valley companies who still haven't turned a profit.
Right.
So that is wired in our experience. But having the I don't know, vision to realize that that's not how you grow a good company is awesome. So I congratulate you and your business partner on that. And being willing to go 6 months without doing a deal, that's saying something, right? Because there's a lot of people that are addicted to that hunt and that chase, and they got to kill something every 90 days or they just get into this depression, right? It's you've got to be profitable. You've got to take care of your investors.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And don't get me wrong, I like doing deals.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But I want to have the discipline to not do a deal just because I want the rush. We want to be focused on doing the right deals. And we think over time that, that's just the right thing to do for us and for our investors.
Yeah, I totally agree. So again, it seems like both of you believe in the live where you want, but invest where the numbers make sense. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
that's 100%.
I totally agree. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think if one thing I would say is I started investing. I'm in the Bay Area, and I started investing in the Central Valley, which is where I grew up in California. So near enough, right? 90-minute drive. But I managed those properties as if they were a couple thousand miles away. And I actually think that was a very, very good thing for me to do, because I approached each investment as with the mindset of, I don't really want to be necessary for this train to run.
Yes.
And if you're thinking about creating a business, whether it's in real estate or anything else, where you are not required day to day for the train to run on time, then you really need to. I think you need to start with that mindset from the beginning,
yeah.
And your systems and processes in place that allow you not to be involved. And despite me being 90 minutes away, I managed these properties as if they were much further away, and that just kind of set me up very well for it not feeling like such a big deal that we have a 650 unit multifamily property in Atlanta that I'm not going to go be at. I'm not within driving distance to. So that's been an important part of our strategy, and certainly will continue to be.
Yeah. So I've been in the Central Valley for 15 or 16 years. My drive's 2.5 hours. So I'm in Fresno. You said 90 minutes. So I'm guessing Modesto or Stockton Yeah. Stockton. Very cool. Are you still there? Or do you liquidate all that for this bigger vision, or you still have those?
I have one property closing next week. And
the sale or the purchase?
Sale. Sorry.
Okay.
Right. We are selling all of our portfolio in Stockton. We might keep a couple properties there. We've had a really good run.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I still have family there. I grew up there, and I think the mayor, Michael Tubbs in Stockton, is really doing great things.
Yeah.
But I just see other opportunity elsewhere, and honestly, my business model's changed, right? As I've evolved, moving out of single family homes and small multifamily properties into bigger commercial assets is really just where we want to be now.
No, no, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just curious, right? As a Central Valley guy, it's exciting. And yeah, for your business model, it makes total sense. And I guess you are selling versus exchanging.
A little of both.
A little both. Okay, that's cool.
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah, one as a kind of a recent as a recently full-time real estate investor, one thing that is valuable is cash flow.
Yes, that's true.
There is we have sold a couple properties in order to kind of feed the early portion of the business.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes total sense. The reason I thought everything was a true sale is those 1031 timelines can get kind of tight and enforce interesting behavior if time gets away from you. So
I completely agree. And actually, I think one of the things that's going to alleviate this pain is opportunity zones.
Oh, no question. Yes.
And so it's not going to be immediate because there's still a lot of gray area. The Treasury did release some guidance a couple of weeks ago that clarified a lot of things and improved the situation a bit for real estate investors. Yeah. But I don't think that is going to reduce the number of 1031 exchanges, and also keeps a little bit more capital in people's pockets because you don't have to put the entire balance of the proceeds from a sale to work. You simply have to put the capital gains to work on an investment.
That's awesome. So let's rewind the clock a little bit. You started investing in real estate when you were a full-time employee, right, with the units in Stockton?
Yes.
So why don't we talk about what was going on in your life before you bought your first one?
Excuse me. Yeah. So I actually got my real estate license when I was 19.
Oh.
And
so last year.
Yeah. And I sold my mom's home, okay. the house that I grew up in, and she made a really nice profit. And I kind of had a little bit of a light bulb moment at that point. I just realized, wait, there's something here that I should know a little bit more about. And I went off to school. I studied economics and took whatever real estate courses I could in college. And I was just kind of fascinated by the industry. I thought I was going to go directly into brokerage. Okay. And I ended up not doing that for various reasons. But I was continuing. Like many people in Silicon Valley, I think in particular, I'm pretty analytical. And that's a great thing, but it can also be a handcuff because I am prone at times to analysis paralysis. Yeah. I'd like to read 50 books to feel really good about my knowledge before I go take action. And so I spent a lot of time educating myself about investing and real estate investing in particular before I ever took any action. I actually bought my first property in 2012, and while I was a full-time employee. Oh yeah, it was great. It was great timing. So while I was a full-time employee, and originally I thought, I'm gonna buy. I think I read Gary Keller's book, the Millionaire Real Estate Investor. I think it was called.
Yeah, the blue one, blue and white.
Blue one, yeah, which was a great book as an introductory kind of real estate investor to get me thinking, about buying properties and operating them and what this could mean for my future.
The thing I liked about that book was the investor stories in the back.
Yes. Yeah. I remember certainly making it feel like these are real people, and if they can do it, why can't I?
Bingo.
And some of the calculations about the amount of property that, houses, it's about houses, single family homes, single family rentals that you need to buy in X amount of, time frame in order to achieve, certain financial results. So I started down that path, and I thought, I'm going to buy one property a year. And by the time I'm 40 years old, 50 years old, I'm going to have a different life. Like my lifestyle is going to be different, and that's going to be meaningful for me and my wife. And so I started doing that, and I realized, wait a minute, why can't I just buy 2 properties a year? Like, one is really doable. Why can't I just do this 2 times a year and compress the time frame a little bit? And then I started thinking, well, why can't I just do 5 a year or 10 a year? And what I really quickly realized was I probably could. Um, it would require, some systems that I honestly am not excited about. And I don't want to own 100 or 200 single family homes. That's just not my personal preference. I can't imagine my future, revolving around that. So I started thinking about how can I invest in a way that allows me to achieve a little bit more scale, lower volume, and more scale. And so that led me down the road of looking at apartments. And I put together, I actually started doing some pretty significant apartment due diligence and self-education in like 2013, 14, but never really developed the courage necessary to actually pull the trigger on anything until 2018. And so that's kind of how I got started. And now really what we do is, like I said, Dan and I invest our own money. That's what we're looking to do, is invest our own money. And so we're building a portfolio. And when we find a deal that we like, we share it with our network of fellow investors. Many of them are friends and colleagues and former colleagues. And they know that we have, vetted the deal, pretty stringently. They know that this is all we do all day, is look at deals and think about, develop hypotheses and go, develop relationships. And so we like to let our investors ride along with the decision to invest our personal money, and that's kind of the approach.
That's great. And is it? I'm guessing it's fair to assume that you have some skin in the game in each investment.
100%. We only buy deals that we want to buy.
Perfect. Very, very cool.
And so now, one thing that is a reality is that you only have so much capital, and it can get tied up pretty quickly. And we have 3 deals under contract today. We have earnest money deposits sitting out there. We have vendors that we're paying for things. So we do need to be prudent with regard to how much we can actually put into each deal. But yeah, absolutely. We are buying these deals for our own account, first and foremost.
That's great. And just so you know, I'm sure you know this, but I'll say this for the audience. That's not true of every syndicator I've spoken with.
Yeah.
I like people that are going to put their money at risk the same time as their investors. So that's strong. So I am curious, what is your vision for this? This is relatively new for you and your partner. I don't know, put your crystal ball or, time machine on, or whatever you want to call it, and think 5 years out. What does this look like? Is it still the two of you and you're still kind of doing the same thing and you have what you have, or do you see this growth? Do you see moving? What does the future hold, do you think?
Well, I think we want to remain a little bit flexible and opportunistic, but I think that we're doing our first development. So that'll be interesting. I have a feeling early on that that's going to appeal to me personally, just something that I enjoy doing. I like all the moving parts and the complexities of it, and the kind of the strategy involved in development. So I think a couple development projects might be something that we sprinkle in. I think also I think we may have an opportunity and an interest actually to expand in the coming years outside of real estate. I think real estate will be our primary emphasis, but I think if over time you develop a reputation with your investors of bringing really, really high quality deals as opportunities to them, I think that can extend pretty naturally into other opportunities outside of real estate. So for instance, one of the areas that we're educating ourselves on is the cannabis industry. Mm-hmm. And obviously very, very nascent. What I think is going to be a tremendous opportunity in the next 20 years. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we have a few cannabis opportunities over the next handful of years that we bring to our investors, again with the framing that this is something that Dan and I have vetted. We've spent a lot of time understanding, and we're making an investment. Mm-hmm. And we'd like to invite you to come alongside us if that's interesting to you.
Yeah, very, very cool. So let's make sure one of the things I want to do in my more recent videos is give lessons learned or knowledge nuggets or whatever you want to call it. Maybe think about when you're investing in single family homes, what are a couple of things you learned, either gotchas or things you recommend for someone there, and then we'll switch to syndication. So let's think about your single family homes in 2012 forward. Any recommendations or lessons learned you want people to remember or think about?
Um, I guess I think there's one thought that comes to mind is there's a tendency to believe that you need to do it yourself and you need to know everything before you get started.
Yes.
And I think that is a particularly crippling tendency for people like me that are very analytical.
Yeah.
And I would encourage anyone that is kind of thinking about making their first step to just release that. That's not true. That's a story that I was telling myself, which was not accurate. And you have to trust other people to do what they said they were going to do. You have to incentivize them in the right way. But the properties that I started with in single family homes, we did pretty meaningful renovations on just about every one of them. And I was not in there swinging a hammer.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was not in there, changing out toilets. And so I had to build and then rely on a team of other people. And I think that that's just one thing that I would really encourage anyone that's analytical and feeling like that may be holding them back.
Yeah.
To think about. It's not necessary for you to know everything. You never will.
Yeah.
And the most important thing is for you to find people that you can work with and pay to execute your vision.
Yeah, totally agree with that. So now let's switch gears to your full-time job, syndicating, attracting capital, evaluating deals. What are a couple of things that you'd give as sort of knowledge bombs or advice for people that are either thinking about investing or thinking about doing this on their own?
I think if you're thinking about investing, I personally think that investing in a deal passively is probably the quickest way to gain really hands-on knowledge. Most sponsors, and certainly us, are more than willing. Like, this is what we do all day, and we do it because we're passionate about it and we're excited about what we're doing.
Yeah.
So we are happy to get into the weeds with our investors about what we're doing because that's what we geek out on. And so, like, I have an investor who has been with me, for a handful of years through some of the single family home projects. And he continues to, we spend a lot of time together because he has a lot of questions and he asks good questions and he has a ton of knowledge. He has never been involved more than passively with us. But now if he wanted to, he certainly could. He could go put a deal together himself. And I think that shouldn't be overlooked. I think that's one thing I didn't do. I did not passively invest with anyone else, but I wish I did. I think it would have compressed my time frames a little bit. It's a little bit like exposing yourself to a mini mastermind and getting potentially paid to do it because of the return on your investment. And so I think if you strategically chose a few sponsors that you thought you could learn something from, I think that would be a tremendous education opportunity for someone that that had that ambition.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So if somebody wants to get a hold of you or learn more about you, how can they do that? Facebook group? Want to give your phone number? Because I think there'll be some people watching this that want to geek out with you a little bit and maybe learn some more. How can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, I appreciate that opportunity. Drivencap.com is our website. Drivencap, short for capital. And then matt@drivencap.com, probably the best two ways to reach out. If you go sign up for our email list, we share investment opportunities with that list. That's another thing that I would recommend for people is go join a few email lists so that you can start to get a little deal flow and see what's out there, see what kind of returns people are projecting, see how sponsors communicate. It'll tell you a lot about who you're dealing with. And so, yeah, I would love to speak with anyone if you're interested in what we're doing, or if I can help in any way.
Very cool, Matt. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you for doing this. Again, people, if you want to learn more about what he's doing, go to drivencap.com, and it's matt@drivencap.com, correct?
That's right.
Awesome, man. Well, have a great day and keep going. Keep crushing it.
Hey, thank you so much, Michael. Appreciate it.
You got it.